What's going on, everybody? What's going on? It's your boy Deonte. Pause the music. What's going on, everyone? What's going on? It's your boy Deonte Burden, and welcome to Change Your Lives, hosted by Deonte Burden. Let me get this mic up closer. As you noticed, guys, I'm not in the lab today, so I'm here at the crib. Let me put a little chill. Okay, get my ass a little comfortable. I'm not in the lab today. Today I'm at my crib. I'm not in my brother DJ lab. And they had to do something. Him and Slick had to take care of some other things. So your boy rolling solo. I'm a little rusty on the boards and everything. So y'all bear with me. Make sure I got everything covered here. Here with everything. Okay, cool. Just wanna do a little quick housekeeping. Tonight we got an awesome show tonight. Tonight we're going over make sure I got this squared. We're gonna be discussing the topic marriage on the edge. When is it when to fight and when to let it go? This is I think it's a very serious topic with a lot of people because there are a lot of people. And guys, before we get a disclaimer, I am pro-marriage. I'm not anti-marriage and everything like that. I went through divorce about 5 years ago, so I'm not anti-marriage, and I don't believe. It's not that I don't believe people should get married or not, but what I do believe there's not enough conversation, especially to help men go through the process. So we have different topics about the subject matter in regards to discussing different things and subject matters and different techniques to help people to go through the process, because there are a lot of people that are in marriages or different situations. It can be from a relationship, it can be from business, job, or whatever, and they're really stuck and they really don't know how to get out of it, be it from actual, not necessarily having the right people in the place to help them navigate from it, or just having any kind of the right anyone or even experiences to be able to help them and navigate through it. So I wanted to have that discussion with everyone in regards to what we're talking about. Again, tonight's discussion is marriage on the edge, when to fight and when to let it go. Like I said, I'm not in the studio, so I ain't got a lab with me. So guys, feel free to leave in one of your comments or questions in the chat. Right now we're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Twitter. The main hub is the Changing Lives YouTube channel. So you can just Google Changing Lives, hosted by Deonte Burden. You should see that blue man icon pop up. And that's the YouTube channel where we have over 1,400 videos covering different subject matter from a motivational standpoint, professional standpoint, parenting standpoint, and a lot of information, especially coming from a father perspective like myself. And again, we're talking about marriage on the edge. And here's the thing, there are a lot of times, when you're in a long-term relationship or a marriage, you're going to go through stuff. You're going to have disagreements, you're going to ways you see different things from different perspectives. And let me turn this a little bit. Booyah. Everybody has their own individual brain, right? So the person you're with, you're going to have difference of views and disagreements, right? That's normal. That's normal because we're human. The issue comes up is, how do you handle, especially from a long-term perspective? You guys having a disagreement about what's going to be for dinner tonight is one thing. Then we start having other things that are a little bit more serious that can be prolongated: religion, children, health, finances, sex, all that kind of stuff. And a lot of times people don't necessarily know how to navigate through that or even be able to bounce back for those particular subject matters. So that's what I want to have that discussion with you guys tonight. What we're talking about, marriage on the edge, and when is it time to fight and when is it time to let it go, guys? And that's one thing, when you see people that actually go through stuff, they ask that question, do I stay and fix it, or, just try to move on so both of us can be happy, right? The problem come up with it, everybody don't necessarily know what happy looks like, right? What does happy look like? And I think what's different in this day and age and previous years, because I never get into what was right or wrong or anything. We have so many examples of quote unquote happy, i.e., social media, reality TV, that people see 30 minutes to an hour of something on TV and see that as reality, as opposed to that's what they see on TV. I don't think the vast majority of the world walks around using reasoning and logic and everything. They just kind of look at what they see and what they see is correct, right? So when we start talking about, you know, if your marriage or your relationship is going sour and you see another couple where this guy is buying his wife everything, this wife is being super attentive and respectful to her significant other, people deem that to be that's how you're supposed to be. But at the end of the day, is that how it is? Right? That's just what we see. Again, it's a snippet. That don't mean people lying. That don't mean people faking. That means that you're just seeing a small piece of something, and you can't necessarily always look at it like that's the actual true or the real thing, right? So, some of the purpose of the conversation is understand the difference between a rough season and a toxic pattern. Because there's a lot of times you're like, dang, we just going through some stuff, right? And this just, me and my significant other were just having a bump. We'll learn different things. We just got to be able to adjust. Or you be saying like, look, man, this ain't working. Cause I remember even particular near the end of my marriage, I asked a couple of my buddies that had been through divorces, and I was just like, hey man, to get their unbiased opinion, like for as much as it could be unbiased, because they were friends of mine. Man, you think I can work this out? And every one of them said no. And they definitely, I genuinely believe they all wanted me to be married. But I just, you ask people those opinions, like, man, do you see this stuff getting better? And, like it wasn't just one of those little toxic seasons. It just was bad. It was gone and everything. Just kind of, I know the differences. We're going to discuss that tonight. Learn how to evaluate love, effort, respect, and safety, right? Um, Everybody got different perceptions of what they see love, communication, respect, and everything else. Some people see love and respect as communicating, hugging, talking, doing different things like that. Some people see it as a damn open hand across their damn head for whatever reason. But everybody has a different interpretation of what they believe it is, right? We're going to talk about that. And also, guys, how to make empowered decisions, not emotional decisions. I talk about this a lot, especially on Mr. Short Dollar, just from a business perspective, being able to make informed decisions. A lot of times people can have different things in their face in regards to, hey, look, this is the damn truth. Now, it may not be what you like, but this is the truth. And a lot of times when we have that stuff in front of us, we don't necessarily want to move on it because, and I've talked to you guys about this before. Don't ever let your mind or your heart blind you to what your eyes and your eyes see and what your ears hear, right? Because you can feel a certain way, you're like, man, I don't want to be out of this, I don't want to be out of this. And they telling you they don't want to be out of it. And they showing your ass that they don't want to be, they want to be out of the situation. So you hear it and you see it, but that mind and that heart is processed something totally different. And it happens to all, it doesn't happen to all of us, right? It happens to all of us. When that happens to you, hell, keep living. And if it never does happen, you're just a lucky soul, right? So we want to have those conversations in regards to how to see those particular things. Again, tonight we're talking about marriage on the edge, when to fight and when to let it go. Okay. Again, guys, I'm not at the studio, so we don't have to call in, but please feel free to leave in the comments or anything like that in the chat. Let me check something right quick, guys. Boom, 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 boom. Is there anything I'm missing? I don't think so. Let me just check one thing, guys. Bear with me 1 second. Nope, that's it. Okay. Again, we're talking about marriage on the edge, when to fight or when to let it go. Some of the key things I want to just talk about first when we look at this, guys. And y'all got any questions or anything? Is anybody, how many people in the chat, whatever platform you're looking at, how many of you guys been through a long-term relationship, they ended, be it a long-term relationship, a divorce, you were married for a while? How many people, or even been through a separation where, hey, you thought it was going to be a certain way, or a divorce? Can you put a 1 in the chat? Put a 1 in the chat if you've been through a divorce or you've been through any kind of major breakup or anything like that. Okay, looking, seeing what everybody has. I guess everybody been together forever. They haven't had any turmoil. But it's a real funky thing to go through. Not even just the time that you go through that particular breakup or that divorce. It's just the whole point of I say the whole back and forth trying to figure out if you want to do it or not. looking at different ways you want to try to navigate in regards to not not doing any damage to yourselves, worrying about other people, things like that. It's a funky way. It's a funky way to be. It's a funky way to be. Let me see something right quick, guys. I want to just check something. Okay. Um, and I think a lot of times when we thinking about going through those particular things, anything with life, but I always say when you in situations where you have to make any kind of long-term decision, i.e. breakup, i.e. divorce, i.e. move, quit a job, whatever, it's extremely frightening. It's extremely frightening to have any kind of change. Now, if you want to people that have been through it a few times, it may not be as tough, but leaving out of long-term relationships or marriage or whatever, it can be extremely frightening because a lot of times when we make those decisions, it don't necessarily affect us, it affects other people. Could be your children, could be your family, could be your friends, because when you win somebody, there are a lot of relationships that you've created with that significant other's family, with that significant other's friends. And when that stuff happens, people a lot of times you would think sometimes folks will stay, we've been cool or whatever, but a lot of times folks choose sides. And that'd be tough. It's easy once you done got past to the outside looking in, but you've been in a situation of marriage for a long time, but then a person leave out of it and you done lost some good friends and stuff like that. It mess with you. The people that you knew were as family for an extended period amount of time, and now all of a sudden they gone and all this stuff changing. Shit, it mess with anybody. It'll mess with anybody. So a lot of times I've heard people say, well, hey, that didn't 1 second, guys. Want to sure got this stuff going. Wonder why I ain't saying that. But that can bother anyone. Because again, you sitting there saying to yourself, like, hey man, bear with me 1 second, guys. I'm missing one or two of these streams. I want to make sure I got all this stuff in here. Okay. Bear with me 1 second. But that can bother anyone. Because again, you sitting there saying to yourself, like, hey man, okay. That better. Yeah, and again, when you have those things, that, like say, you've been in a situation for a long time, and those breakup happens, those separations and stuff like that, family separating, friends getting lost. That stuff rough. But again, you look at, I don't want to change out of this. I want to stay what's going on. It the pros and cons of staying in that situation really worth it a lot of the time. So some of those warning signs, you just simply can't ignore. Disrespect's become a norm. You sitting there trying to talk to a person, they ignoring you. You sitting there saying certain things that you do or don't want to do. You're not getting listened to, you're not getting respected. Sometimes you even talk to people like, hey man, they tell you stuff. Because one thing about it, man, I think from the dynamic of men and women share stuff a lot more because they can get support. A man will be more reluctant to tell people what's going on in his life because you don't want to come off as a punk or you don't want to do this, that, and that. But it's a lot of times eating a lot of men up, right? And I do think that's the root of a lot of domestic violence, because again, there's a lot of times, unless somebody just a straight up, abuser, but a lot of times it's built up anger on certain things happening. Not necessarily saying nothing. I'm not saying I condone anybody beating anybody or doing anything to someone, but at the end of the day, I damn sure can understand, who's doing it. But that's why I say a lot of times we have having what's going on, mama? My mama tuning in. How you doing, mama? I can see a lot of times where people can explode. Again, not to condone it, but when you keep things to yourself and you don't share stuff with people, it's easy for different things to happen, and you just like, okay, I lost it with certain things. So, being disrespect being a norm, when you look at those warning signs, you can't ignore. Communication breakdown, like you can't even talk to this person. You might be living with a person, y'all just walk by each other, don't say a damn thing. Folk just, just like you got a live-in roommate. Those kind of things. We can sit here again, guys. What we're keeping in mind of it is just like a little patch, or this is just something we can't get past, right? And we have those kind of things, right? But we're looking at that communication breakdown. We can't talk. Hell, y'all you went from short speaking with each other. It may be like some texts or whatever, but these are things you look for when you going through stuff as in a relationship, that be in a marriage, whatever. What the hell? We don't even speak anymore. Like I said, it's just damn near like live-in roommates, and everybody functioning like the stuff is normal. These are the key signs. We talking about those key signs you really can't ignore. Repeated emotional withdrawal. You touch your woman, she pull away. You try to hug your man, he backs out of or whatever. No more I love you, no more affection, no more sex, all this stuff, right? And you sitting there saying, okay, look, right, I know she pissed off because I stayed out too late, or I know he's mad because I didn't tell him, me and the girls, we were going on this particular trip, tell them last minute. Those are kind of things that kind of just may be just to a little moment of time. Folks get mad, get pissed off, they go through their little thing or whatever, and you move past that, right? But then you like, shit, this stuff's sustained. We ain't moved past this. We ain't got no better. That's when things get real funky, right? That's when things you're like, hey man, I need to reevaluate this. What's going on? Because this ain't changing. So there's no kind of that emotional withdrawal is there. There's no kind of tension or whatever, and you just sitting there like, I don't know what the hell going on, right? And then being real, it's a one-sided effort. We talking about these key warning signs. You can't ignore that one-sided effort. I mean, there's only one person concerned, reaching out. Hey, let's do this, let's do that. Hey, what's going on here? What's going on there? And you sitting there like, shit, this ain't going nowhere. And you can be either side of it, the person of interest or the person with disinterest, right? And at the end of the day, it's there. And then, typically when you can sit here and, give your little timetable, like, okay, well, look, they've been acting funny for a couple of days, and then, they go through it because anytime you're in a relationship, that you don't live in your relationship. What I mean by living your relationship, people going to work, people going to school, people doing different things, they have to interact with other people. So there can be issues that came from that particular situation. Something outside, I'm sorry, y'all, situation that, is, you didn't do anything, but you might bear the brunt of it because we typically hurt the people that's who closest to us. Why? Because they the most closest proximity to us and everything. So stress at a job, you have to got stuff with other family members and things like that. It's easy to take that stuff home, right? Unfortunately, and I ain't saying it's fair, excuse me, but that's just the reality of things. A lot of times people do this. So those kind of things, you're looking at those things you can't ignore. When silence becomes louder than your arguments, you got to pay attention. When the person rather not say a damn thing to you at all, you got to kind of look at that, right? Regardless how you want to just make excuses and make different things about why that's happening or not. But the reality is it has happened. And once it's happened, what can you do? Right. So again, we're talking about, marriage on the edge, when to fight or when to let it go. Those key warning signs, I think people need to really be thinking about. If you're going through them or something like that, that don't mean you finna, go through a divorce or anything, but it's still something to pay attention to, right? We can't necessarily, just always just want to turn this damn blind eye to certain stuff. We got to just be realistic about it. Just like, hey, now again, like I said, if you cool with it, you cool with it. There are people out there that just function and we good, we cool, whatever. I'm not the person to sit here and tell anyone that how you should move in your marriage, right? You like it, I love it, right? But at the end of the day, you have a good idea what your discomfort level is and what you do or don't want as far as your life, right? So we got to kind of be mindful of that. And so when you start looking at now, we want to just say, okay, well, look, Pooch, you see him talking about that. We just looked at some warning signs. Let's go with some things to say, okay, when we want to know when it's worth fighting for, or we like, hey, man, we might want to get the hell up out of this situation. So we start thinking about when worth fighting for. That's when, really, I think one of the key things is when both people are willing to try. I can look at from my own experience in regards to, I knew when me and my ex-wife were going to counseling, we're trying to work it out. Okay, cool. You get your little instructions or shit you need to work on. You do it, and everybody's kind of cool working on it, whatever. I also know when it went from you going in there and the other person like, man, I don't want to do this stuff. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to try this stuff at all, man. I have no interest whatsoever with doing this. This right here. Okay, cool. That's not. Am I? I'm sorry. I'm trying to read some notes on here. I'm using StreamYard and they got different features, and I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not using stuff that ain't useful and it's coming out the wrong way. So y'all, I apologize about pausing, but again, you want to kind of be looking at certain things when we say, what's fighting for it, and both people willing to try, you okay. Now, if you're gonna be trying in vain or not, who to say that? I can't tell you that. But if both people willing to try, that's when you got a situation when the worth fighting for, and uh, people can be real about it when we got some kind of honesty going about when they hurt, because a person, if they really don't want to be with you, they ain't gonna say that. But a person, want to be in a situation, they're gonna be straight up with like, hey man, this bothering me. This is, I'm letting you know this, and I'm being straight up with you. Um, Honesty, uh, should be looked at it for what it is. A person being transparent and let you know what's going on. A person that don't want to talk to you or lie about it and stuff like that, like man, you keep saying, okay, how are you feeling? I'm like, you know, I'm okay. You want to go to counseling if you want to. How do you feel about this? It's straight. You know how shit is, right? We ain't got to, again, I keep saying, don't let your heart and your mind tell you something different that your eyes and your ears, the eyes done seen and your ears done heard, right? If they kissing somebody else, or you hear them talking on the phone, love it with somebody else, that's what the hell you saw and heard. Not your mind, your mind, your heart telling you, oh, they just were joking. That's just a work boo. That's just bullshit. You heard it, and that's what it is, right? So we got to make sure that heart and that mind ain't playing tricks on us, because they do it to us all the time, especially when we see certain things in place. Um, if we look at things, know if it's worth fighting for, it's counseling on the table. We're willing to sit down and talk with somebody about everything. That's okay, we can sit down with somebody. We'll talk about it in a second in regards to how to determine, or my opinion on how to determine who to talk to and everything in regards to that, because I think far too often I do think that's a problem when people seek outside help or assistance, is the actual person that they choose to help them. You know what I mean? I think that's the problem with a lot of times. A lot of times people they seek counsel, which is a good thing, but choosing the right counsel can really hurt. Can hurt you in the grand scheme of things. Appreciate that, Shannon Turner. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that donation. Appreciate that. The stars rather. Um, Again, guys, feel free to leave comments in the chat. Again, we're talking about marriage on the edge, when to fight and when to let it go. Please feel free. Like I said, I'm not in the studio, guys, so you can't call in. But definitely, if you got any comments or questions you want to add to the conversation, please do. Another thing to know when it's worth fighting for, guys, when love still exists, you still love that person, but we got some stuff to work on. I mean, so worth fighting for. You still love that person. One thing I will say to you out there, and again, when you go through stuff, you'll find out, good or bad, when you in a long-term relationship and you get out of it, your perception of love that you were used to is very unique. And you finding that again out there in new situations, gonna be close to none. Now, and that can be, good or bad, right? Because if you're in a situation like, man, this was abusive, it wasn't really working and stuff like that, I can dig it. I can dig it. But there are a lot of things that you were used to that person did that you probably never see again, right? So it's just something to be mindful of. Again, that's not to stop you from doing something. Get back in the mic. That's not to stop you from doing something, but it's just being real about, like, okay, your sense of normalcy in regards to how you do things with certain people is just that. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be very, very, very mindful of certain things. Let me look at this right quick. I'm still working on how to be navigating a lot of this stuff with this with the TikTok. So y'all bear with me when I'm trying to do everything. Like I said, I ain't got a lab with me right now, but we trying to make stuff happen. Again, we're talking about marriage on the edge, when to fight or when to let it go. So we just went over a couple things where, we just talking about when it's worth fighting. And fighting for your marriage means both people are in the ring, not one person in the ring and another person coaching them on. Not both people stand outside the ring talking about, well, you get in, and you get in, or you get in, and you get in. That means both people are in the ring and they like, okay, look, we're going to fight for this thing. Okay. That's just something to be thinking about. And so we start looking at it when letting go may be a healthy option. When letting go may be a healthy option. Okay. Remember, guys, I'm not talking from an anti-marriage standpoint. We're just talking about, I'm pro person, right? I'm pro life. I'm pro happy. I'm pro damn happy. So I understand everybody got different ways they look at stuff with everything. So that's why we had this conversation, because um I this is my opinion, and I've said this before. I really do think damn near 70% of married couples are not happy. I think they love who they're with. I think they love their significant other. But I do not think, I believe 7% of married couples are not happy. I really don't. To wake up and say, hey, I wake up and you my sunshine. I love to see you, kissy boo boo, all that kind of stuff. Hell no. I really do believe, but I believe majority of them love that person. But in love and love being married is shit. No. No. And I don't know too many cats. There's, I think it's a piece of normalcy where people say, well, look, I love them. You're used to them, right? You're used to them. And that's how I even look at just like you look at your grandparents and parents and aunts and uncles, they love each other, but they really just more so used to each other. And again, that fear of a change, that you fear of difference, especially being in a situation for a long time, it's extremely frightening to move out of certain situations. I think that's where a lot of people are actually stuck at, like, shit, what I'm gonna do? Where I'm gonna go? It's the same thing out there is in here. And it's possible, right? That's possible, right? But you just don't know. But I do think that's what keeps a lot of people in certain situations. What we got here, Shannon Turner says, marriage is a business relationship after so many years, in my opinion. And that's the thing about it, again, is marriage is a business relationship after so many years. That's the kind of thing I'm saying. Like, a lot of times we get used to it, and it's not a right or wrong or indifferent. It is what it is in a lot of situations. I appreciate that. A lot of times people don't necessarily, want to get out of certain things or whatever. And I'm not damn sure going to be telling people when they should leave or get out, unless it's something in danger your life or danger to others. But for the most part, you determine that. But I damn sure, and I'm sitting here looking at it like, hey man, I don't think it's an institution where a lot of folks are happy with it. Say love one thing. I think majority of them love each other. But when letting go could be a healthy option. And number one is if it's abuse, physical, emotional abuse, or verbal. Physical, emotional, verbal. Somebody go inside your damn head, you might want to get the hell on for now. Because a lot of time whooping don't get better, they get a lot worse, right? Somebody dogging you out, hurting your feelings, crushing you and stuff like that. That it usually doesn't, it usually gets worse. And it usually has a greater impact the longer you stay in the situation. So definitely, if there's points of abuse, I think you need to get the hell out of that situation, male or female. Because I will say this too. It's not talked about as much, but it's, females do some damage to guys out here. And, again, when we had these conversations, men don't address, and damn sure don't talk to other guys about it, because you don't want to be seen as a punk. Man, your old lady whooping on your tail and you're doing this, that, and that. But, it's not that I don't think a man is usually scared or afraid. It's the other is of that woman, but they may be scared or afraid of the outcome of retaliation, and that's not even going upside your old lady head or something like that, but just leaving. He hit me. He struck me. I won't let you see your kids. I call your job. I tell this, that, and that. And that can happen on both sides. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to sit here and say that's just something that women do, but a lot of times, man, is men stay in situations and get abused, not because They're afraid of that woman is being afraid of the actual reaction with it. And I know that goes for women too. I'm not even going to make light of that. I know that does. I know that happens, but it happens with men a whole lot more than people talk about in regards to abuse, infidelity with no accountability. Again, I know damn well. I'm telling you right now, I ain't never been. I ain't a saint. I ain't a saint. But at the end of the day, people can do certain things like, look, man, this ain't happening. It ain't no accountability. Because we all can make mistakes, right? We all can make, but I'm sorry. It is what it is. And I will say this, guys. Um, let's say anybody, this generation of people, let's say everybody is definitely 60 and under, and 55 and below. We ain't nothing compared to Pawpaw. Those previous generations, like, those OGs, man, again, people don't necessarily have these conversations about it. Infidelity, outside babies, outside families. People just move with it, and it was just kind of like and I don't think people saw it as right, but people accepted it and dealt with it a whole lot more than they did now. They make it right or wrong, fair or unfair. No, I'm just saying that, but I damn sure believe things are a whole lot more tame now than they were years before. I think the only thing different now, people have more accessible to people, accessibility. That's men and women now than they did before, and they have more ways that they can. And then what I mean accessibility, online, on the phone, can fly, move here, this, that. And you just got so many more options that I think that our grandparents, the great grandparents did. But like I say, they were just brutal. you know, Pawpaw might have somebody down the street, cross the street, next door. Everybody at the same church, everybody at the same school, and folks just dealt with it. And one of the major reasons why I think so, because as opposed now, women didn't have the accessibility to funds, careers back then that they do now. Women can leave, right? Women can make a decision. So that's just the reality of it. Like, they don't have to take it because they're in a position they don't have to deal with certain things. When you're looking at, again, we're talking about when letting go may be a healthy option. The relationship just drains your identity, your peace, and your purpose. I've shared this to you guys before, man. When I got my divorce, I'm married 20 some years. I ain't know what the hell I like, because my life revolved around um, making sure everybody else was cool. And I'm pretty sure my ex-wife had a similar situation, because we were fully engulfed with especially with our kids. And I think that had a lot to do with, just with you so used to make sure everybody else is okay. You can lose who you are, right? Now, of course, when you get into a situation, any kind of partnership, you're gonna have to make some adjustments here and there. But if you like hanging with your friends, not that you hang with your friends to the point where you're never at home, but I'm talking about just not having any kind of fellowship in your life, not doing certain stuff. Because I heard, and again, I'm not saying whose thing is right or wrong, but I've heard people say, well, look, my wife don't need friends. I'm her friend. My husband don't need friends. Ooh, shit. I mean, now again, like, that sound good, but at some point, you never know what's going on in another person's head, and you never know. A lot of times, people will be complicit, and they agree with the situation just to keep things at bay or whatever. But you'll lose yourself to always accommodate somebody else's feelings, right? If you're a person that's outgoing and you're doing certain things like that, it doesn't stop, right? Your interests don't. Your interests in life don't stop with no, right? If you want to go certain places, you still want to go certain places, regardless if you're told no or not, right? Those things don't change. And a lot of times, your spouse, significant other, they ain't no damn dog, and I'm just saying, a lot of times, you took sit, skip, roll over, and all that kind of stuff. People got brains. And I look at a lot of the video where people say, especially couples been together a long time, it's usually one person talking a lot. And there's another person, you look at their leg crossed and shaking. The man or the woman just wagging. And you never know what's going on in somebody's head. You can sit here and say, well, this is what you need to do, that's what you need to do. Another person just saying, man, this damn fool talking, I hate them. You never know. That's one thing I don't think people really think about. You never know. In your mind, your marriage is great. We love each other, we good. But in your significant other, you never know what's going on in their head. That's not to sit here and stop you or hold you back from being with somebody, but you always need to keep that in your mind. Like you really don't know what you think you damn know about that person or how they feel about certain stuff. So, human, that's something to keep in mind. Again, we're talking about human when letting it go might be a healthy option. Another one is you're staying on it, worrying about the image, kids, fear, starting over. I would shit damn near all of those. From the image, not that I thought I was holier than now. I took a lot of pride in being a person that was married for a long time. And cats will come to me, hey, Pooch, man, what do you think about this? Me and my wife doing this, that, and that. So when it was stated that, hey, I'm knowing this was going a certain way, it was it was embarrassing for me to sit here and say, well, hey, this was over, because I think I was looked upon as a person like, nah, man, nah, I know you wouldn't. I know you wouldn't do it. You worry about the impact it's gonna have on your children, and you'll find out real quick. A lot of times, hey, your kids knew y'all messed up hell, and you sit there and just tell them like they were like, well, by damn time or whatever. So they'll see certain things, but you worry about them. Again, that fear starting over and everything. Those, we talking about where it may be a healthy option where you look at, hey man, I'm so worried about other shit that I forgot about myself. That, i.e., my sanity, i.e., how certain things, whatever. A lot of things we can lose that. So those one of the things you can think about. Letting go isn't failure; it's making space for healing for both of y'all. For both of y'all, and we know we ain't perfect. We know we're gonna do things. We wish we can go back and change it and all that kind of stuff. That's everybody. Like I said, we human, but we also got to be realistic about we only give it so much time on this earth, and you want to be as happy as possible with doing that. And your fear sometimes of shifting gears, changing certain things like that shouldn't be inhibited. Inhibiting your time with any kind of happiness. Okay, so again, we're talking about marriage on the edge, when to let it go, or when to work for it, when to let it go. You got to look at especially the role of children, culture, and community. This is one of the things I think a lot of times, we doing this weigh in process about should I work with it, should I shouldn't work with it. And I know my mom's on the live, but my mom used to say something that probably one of the things that I really was feeling. I didn't feel it then, didn't feel it now. My mom like, y'all work it out because the kids. Work it out because the kids. My mom's on it. And I know you're on the live, mama, but my mom, you say that all the time. And I believe that, hell, I made staying together for the kids a lot of times. Again, we're talking about marriage on the edge, when to work on it, when to let it go. Your kids don't be happy seeing y'all damn arguing all the damn time. Your kids don't be happy seeing damn loving environment. Nobody ain't speaking that. You know what I'm saying? I think it bothers us, and we worried about them. But again, I don't think that they. For this is my personal opinion. I don't think that they have any enjoyment of just seeing parents not happy, right? Now, the new norm that they have after parents may separate, and that mean that can vary how kids receive that. But to sit here and like, hey, I'm a happy, I don't like your ass, you don't like me, but we're gonna keep it together because we think this is gonna be best for the kids. I don't think that's the most wisest thing to do, because again, you're forcing somebody to be in a situation, but they ain't really feeling that shit, and they see it. And how healthy is that? So, staying for the kids versus showing them a healthy example. I don't think that's probably the best way to go about things, because your kids seeing certain things can also give your kids the opportunity to put themselves in situations like, no, I don't think that'd be the best thing for you to do. We love our children, right? We love our kids and want the best for our kids, but we also want to be able to provide the best examples, because kids hear us all the time what we say, but they probably move a lot more on what we do, right? Daddy say don't do this, mama say don't do that, but they're doing this the whole time. So we got to kind of be cognizant of that, especially if we're doing something that probably we wouldn't necessarily want them to do, but we never change out of that. Like we tell them don't do it, and we never ever change out of it. And they see that as a functioning model. you know, don't drink. But I drink all the time, but they see me taking care of the house. They see me working and everything. And it's not really having a negative impact. So a lot of times, we tell them they don't do it and they see you functioning with doing it. It's not having really a perceived negative impact. Shit, I know what daddy told me don't be doing. He told daddy said don't smoke no weed. Daddy said don't do no cocaine. But yeah, daddy raised all of us, right? But the kids may not necessarily see the demons that daddy got to deal with. So we got to kind of be mindful when the whole say the what we saying and what we're doing and stuff like that. Because again, um, and that's any of us. We see certain things, say it, and we kind of know it ain't right. But if we see that in a functioning perspective, hell, like hell, I see they do it. Hell, I think I can do it too. So it's just something to be mindful of for parents. When we talk about the role of family culture and children culture and community, that pressure from the church, family, and tradition. We don't get divorced. The church telling you they deaf do your part, deaf do your part. You can't do this, you can't do that. You sitting there saying to yourself, like, man, this shit is rough. This shit is rough. I'm listening to my OGs, I'm listening to my mentors, but shit, they ain't coming to my house. They not sitting in my damn driveway, not want to get out. And they're so worried about, well, look, you gonna mess up the legacy and what people gonna say and what they gonna do. Damn them folks, man. Damn them folks. Damn them folks. Damn your family. Damn your community and all that kind of stuff. And I mean this in regards to people that are more concerned with your image than your well-being. And that's what I truly believe that, because you don't love me from a family perspective, and you don't love me as a friend perspective, if you more concerned about my image than my well-being. I ain't studying it. And a lot of times, a lot of people hang around that love aspect of being and say like, man, look, I think you should do this. I think you should do that. But they're not worried about you. You understand? And you have to make sure you take looking out for yourself, because there's no one that's going to look out for you like you. And you have to be very, very cognizant of that. And you got to ask yourself, how staying too long can cause, any kind of silent resentment. You just sit there and you just stay in that situation. You just hating everything. You hating get up in the morning. You hating, you start hating yourself. You start hating your family. You hate it. You just got so much stuff that you keeping in because you're worrying about appeasing other people and appeasing images, right? You can't do that. It's again, guys. I talk about this a lot. In our lives, there are going to be anywhere from 3 to 5 game-changing moments. Move, start a new job, quit a job, leave a relationship, break up, i.e. divorce, start a business. And those game-changing moments can put you in a whole different stratosphere of success and change. But those game-changing moments are so damn frightening. They so damn scary. And you're going to have to really get outside your norm and get outside your box to make them happen. I mean, they're cool, but they scary as hell, because again, it's going to be something contrary to what you normally been doing in regard, especially living like a steady life or going through certain things. Those game changing moments are very, very, very frightening, guys. So, children learn from what they watch and not what you say. So you got to kind of be cognizant of, just with being in certain situations, but also make sure you're putting yourself first. Okay, that's very, 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 very important with doing that. Again, we're talking about marriage on the edge, when to work it out and when to let it go. Another thing I want to just talk about, just is how to make those hard decisions, right? How you gonna make them hard decisions? Because told me, when to work for it, when to think about, maybe it's probably the best way to do it. Now, okay, we want to execute. How we're gonna do it? Now, it's easy to say and say we're gonna work on it, right? Work on it and be patient. Rome wasn't built in one day, and fixing your rough situation ain't gonna be able to fix in one day. And I wish I could sit here and just tell somebody like, hey, this is This how you know when things will get better in regard, especially like when you're dealing with another person, especially we talking about communication, intimacy, and things like that. A lot of got to deal with how much you can tolerate, how realistic, how short your fuse gonna be. But you got to be patient. You got to be patient. You got to be patient because we just can't. We looking at big picture or going certain things, and if you're repairing it, and like I said, if you know it's love there, you know it's an interest there, and everybody working to it. That's the thing about it. Now, the finish line may not come when you ready or when you think it is, but if they're working, if you're working, I think that's a good gauge. But to say, well, look, we've been going to counsel 2 or 3 weeks. I think we should go to bed together. Or I think we should be. You need to get over that stuff. I wish I could sit here and just tell you, like, yeah, that's a good barometer, but that ain't how that shit go. It really ain't. It really ain't, guys. So it's just something to kind of keep in mind with that. You just gotta be patient when you're heading that right direction. But if you say, okay, cool, I done thought about it, we done worked on it, and everything like that. In regards to that, we might want to go a different. We might need to be apart. And man, and that's rough. Now, like I said, I ain't in the business telling nobody that. Again, I want to have these conversations to help folks because so many times, ladies, I think ladies have a great community. Like we talked about that on other shows. Women will sit down and get together and strategize, and like I said, they had a mimosa moments, fireside chats, and talk about strategize, and they looking up all your social media and looking at all kind of shit, helping do all kind of stuff. They'll do that to help a woman prep for divorce, but damn sure disappear once the shit over with. But that's a different conversation. But men in particular, there's no tribe to say, a cat, man, your partner's a check on you, man. You all right, you good or whatever. But usually they comfort is a drink or helping get with another woman. But letting you sit down and get through your head and stuff like that. And it's not, I don't necessarily say that's not a good friend, but we just don't necessarily comfort our friends the way women do. And that's why far too often a lot of men get broken in there because you leave in a situation where you losing your money, your health may be impacted, and you can damn, so many guys, get the kids taken away. When I say taken away, it's a different new normal when you've been with that person, that child, all their life, and now you don't see him at all. Shit a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. And a lot of times, depending on the support team that's with that person, they ain't got that to help them support that. It's a lot. So men a lot of times get the rough stick because we don't get the same kind of support that women give to each other. So some things that help you make that tough decision: journal your truth when emotions cool down. Journal your truth when emotions cool down. Why do it when emotions cool down? Write stuff down because when we elevate it, and I talk about this all the time, it's hard to have communications. You have some people that are very, very skilled. You see that on some of those good debates or people that on some of the talk radio talk shows on CNBC or CNN and stuff like that. Those guys get asked tough questions, get caught off guard. They know how to pivot and adjust because they seasoned, right? You see those guys in town hall meetings and stuff like that. They used to the stuff. The presidential debates, you see those guys like, damn, man, shit, I don't know if I'd be that quick on my feet because that was some BS they just said. Most people can't do that. So when you're elevated, you want to just wait till you calm down and just write down certain stuff. Because when we are emotional and we do certain things, we usually move emotionally. We want to be able to move in logic, right? So when you calm down, and that may take you a couple of days, then you start writing down your truth, right? Journal, write that stuff down. Ask, is this situation helping me grow or is it keeping me stuck? Is it helping me grow or keeping me stuck? Or too often people don't necessarily, grow in life. You get in a situation, boom, this is what it is. And you have so much promise that you have that you want to share with the world or you want to see yourself grow. And we'll lose ourselves. Again, I ain't being anti-marriage, but shit, ain't that uncommon to lose yourself and you forget the hell you are. You forget everything because you constantly putting everybody ahead of you, everybody's thoughts, everybody's dreams, everybody's interests, i.e. your significant other, i.e. your children, i.e. your family, i.e. your job. And what you like and what you want in life is quickly forgotten, right? So we want to kind of, ask yourself, just staying in this situation, is it helping me grow or is it keeping me stuck? And it's something about getting up in the morning, stepping out your bed, and ready to have a day, as opposed to getting like, oh Lord, I gotta deal with this woman, I gotta deal with this man, I gotta go to this job, I gotta drop these kids, or this, that, and that. Who the F want to work? Who the hell want to live like that? Who the hell want to live like that? But far too often we get so used to being in that situation. Again, that's why I said we'll lose ourselves. We stuck. We stuck with doing that. So you gotta ask yourself, if this situation helped me grow, or is it keep me stuck? And this thing right here is very, very, very important, guys. And this is why I kind of, touched on it earlier. You got to seek, when we talk about how to make that wise, how to make those hard decisions, you got to seek wise counsel. Seek wise counsel and make sure somebody unbiased. Seek wise counsel, make sure somebody unbiased. Far too often, one of the first things people lean to doing is, well, let's go to church and we talk to the pastor. And depending on the views of the pastor, that's going to be determined in regards to what kind of information you're going to get back. Pastor may be slanted to, hey, man said this, you should do that. The Bible says do this, you should do that. Ain't nobody taking consideration your feelings, your perception, your health, so none of that stuff, right? And again, you would hope that your pastor is a trained psychologist where they've been educated on how to do certain things. But if they pulling out scriptures and giving you stuff like that, and I don't think that's the best damn advice. Going to talk to your mother, your family members, the OGs and friends and stuff like that. I don't think that's the best thing to do either. You want to make sure that person is unbiased, because a lot of times when we talk to friends or family, from a marital standpoint, you want to get advice. People care about you. They love you, and they may love your spouse, but that bias they have to do it. We're doing that. You really can't overcome it. I remember I knew my mom loved my ex-wife, but my mom was always pro her son. Not that she sat there and said certain things that were negative or anything like that to my ex-wife, but I knew she was always slanted towards me, right? Same thing we would have talked to her, my ex-wife people, right? I would always recommend seek some kind of counsel that don't know a damn thing about you. Now, the funny part about that was, because I'm just giving my opinion, what I was always biased to was a older white gentleman or therapist, an older white gentleman, because I felt that person was the most detached of knowing how me and my ex-wife were. That was my logic. That was always my logic. We went to other ones over the years, right? I mean, we might have had a sister, we might have had, I think maybe one white female, we had a brother one time. I always felt that anytime that we, from a counseling standpoint, it was some kind of bias, right? That older white guy, just hear what I'm saying, that just for my situation, he knew the least about me or anything with my ex-wife, where he could make a totally gather her side, my side, let us talk and give a total unbiased opinion. And I thought that was the best thing. And I always felt we got the most out of that, because a lot of times when you go in the situation with counseling, you depending on where y'all at, you kind of want somebody to side with you. Well, this is what I got to say. This is what they did. They got something to say. Well, this is what he did. And typically you want to be right. You don't even know your ass ain't right. You want to be right. And you need somebody to say, hey, now you wrong. And then, hey, you wrong too. But this is how y'all can work on it. And I think that is so important. We're trying to make these decisions. And I always, Mr. Short Dollar, I had them same conversations about, you want to be able to make wise, informed decisions. Why the president got a cabinet. That's why Prime Minister got parliament. You want to have people that can give you facts and tell you certain things to help you steer you in the right direction, right? So I definitely, guys, I can't stress to you enough. Try to get wise, unbiased counsel. I understand you've been in the church for years. I understand that, your in-laws got a wealth of knowledge. They've been married 40, 50 years and stuff, but they still know y'all. It's just my opinion. It's just my opinion. but try to get unbiased counsel, wise, unbiased counsel. Again, if you can get, because that's something about somebody that's, it says a lot when a person is been experienced in life, right? Because I really don't think somebody that's have never been married can tell you how to be married. I don't think that. Again, I'm giving my feelings. I'm not saying this is the truth, but this is what I feel and what I believe. I don't think a person can give you parental advice and they've never had any children. I don't think a lot of time people can give you parental advice if they've had limited access with their children, right? They can tell you certain things, what they feel. Now, again, that's just me speaking, right? Because I didn't, I used to have issues with me and my ex-father-in-law. He would say stuff to me, and I'm a very, very respectful person with doing stuff. But I knew he wasn't around. So at the end of the day, how the hell you gonna tell me what a father does? Now I'm sitting there looking at some other OGs that done went through stuff and whatever, and that were there, and they can tell me, man, this is what I did right, this is what I did wrong, and I was around, right? And it's just one of them things, right? It is not to talk about nobody, but again, you want to get wise, unbiased counsel. I cannot stress that enough. And guys, this is one key thing I say all the time: visualize your life 5 years from now if nothing changes. Visualize your life 5 years from that point if nothing happened. Do you see yourself on the beach with your significant other, y'all sharing mai tais and stuff like that? Or do you see yourself still in there? I hate this mother. I can't stand this mother. Do you want to be that 5 years? And you got to be realistic. Not you hope, not you feel, not you think, not you wish. You can sit there and say, man, this ain't going no damn well. I've spent already 10, 15, 20 years with this, and we still doing the same damn thing. That person is not going to drink no magic potion, and they're going to turn to somebody else, right? That be your old lady, that can be your man, whoever. They are how they are, and it doesn't make them wrong. It's just how they are. And with the person that you are at 22, 32, 42, 52, and 62, it can change, right? Because we all have different experiences in life. We all adjust. We all evolve. Different things happen. Your 20s, you like partying. Your 30s, you want to learn stuff. Your 40s, you want to start building stuff. Your 60s, you just want to lay around and sleep. And again, that could be different for both of you. That could be different. It ain't nobody's fault that people, so when they change, everybody changes. Everybody changes. And change ain't bad. It's just the evolution that everybody have, right? But you can't sit there and just hope that because they changed, you did something wrong, or they did something wrong. They just evolving differently from you as people. And because they evolve differently, you people say, well, you should be adjusting to that person or with them. That ain't always gonna happen. A lot of times, especially men, we get a little bit more sedentary. We like, damn, we done did all this work in here. Man hit 45, 50 years old. We start want to do shit around the house and have a garden and all that kind of stuff. A lot of times women get them kids out of the house. They get the girls, they want to go cruising and line dancing and shit, right? And I know everybody different, but that activity level, interest level, it changes, right? And we're going to have that happy medium where everybody can just kind of coexist and stuff, coincide with each other, right? We don't know if we're going to have that, right? So you got to kind of think about those kind of things, how much you can take, but you just visualize how your life going to be if you don't, if you don't make them changes. It's just something very, very, very important. I think most people need to think about. Some marriages get stronger through struggle. Others expose the cracks that can't be ignored. Either way, your healing, peace, and futures matter. It is very, very tough to go through life trying to appease other people or trying to hold on to something, be in a situation that you're not necessarily favorable with, because you only got one life. You only got one life. You can get you another car. You can get you another house. You can get you some more clothes, but you can never, ever, ever get another you. And I just want everybody to think about that, because again, like I said, I think the institution of marriage is fantastic, but I do think the institution of being happy is the ultimate goal. I appreciate any person, grandparents, parents, and stuff like that in my life that made sacrifice to make sure I was straight. I appreciate it. But as I get older, and you start living life, you start saying to yourself, like, hey, I wish I had did this. I wish I had did that. I remember having a conversation with my grandmama, and she was like, and I'm like, Grandma, what you like doing? She was telling me, like, baby, I used to, like doing hair, stuff like that. I never knew my grandma like doing that. There were so many things that she put to the side because she had to work and take care of family and stuff. And that's just being a responsible adult. But a lot of times when we're able to do stuff, because we can say honestly, we have access to do a lot more things now that our parents and grandparents did, because we have the internet and we got these phones and we can do so much stuff, right? But you want to be happy. You want to be happy. Again, working with someone, being in a relationship, it's a lot of work. The same thing, you gotta have commitment with your job, your business, your kids and everything. But when we start looking at it like, hey man, this ain't working, this ship is sinking, right? There's one hole, we patched it up, we good to go, we can sail the seven seas. But if we sitting there like we playing damn twister, putting a hand here, put a hand there, put a foot there, and all these holes popping up at the bottom, that ship gonna sink. No matter how much you don't want it to, it is going to sink. So hope this information helped you guys. Anything, I don't see nobody having questions or comments and everything. I appreciate you all tuning in. Again, this was Changing Lives, hosted by your boy Deonte Burden. We talked about, I'm about to forget the damn subject of the show. Marriage on the edge, when to fight and when to let it go. Hope this was a great conversation with you guys. Love you all. If you came in the middle of just coming in into the conversation, make sure you go to the YouTube channel, Change the Lives, hosted by Deonte Burden. You can see this video in its full entirety. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, take advantage of all the great information there. Love you all. Be safe, and I will talk with you soon.